You today in PUBG Mobile. I got my main man, my best bud, Power Bang from Power Bang Gaming. PB, what's up, brother?
What's up, Ash? Thanks so much for having me, dude. It's always a pleasure to come onto your channel. And what is going on to all the folks watching? It's good to be here.
Yeah, dude, it is great to have you. I figured what better way to kick off doing pro tips in PUBG Mobile. It's going to be a new series here on CWA Mobile Gaming. Then to invite the guy who, not only are we or best of friends going back years, but dude, your channel is blowing up on PUBG Mobile. How does it feel, man?
Man, I don't know. It's still kind of surreal to me right now because honestly, I mean, you know the deal, man. We've been grinding, right, for the last several years doing this content thing, and it's not like the growth has been upsetting in the past. I've had steady, constant growth, but the way the graphs are turning right now is encouraging to say the least, and I've been super excited to, really kind of be rewarded for something I really enjoy playing.
Yeah, the thing that strikes me about you too, everybody who's watching should subscribe to Power Bang Gaming if you're not already. By leagues, he's the best guy around, in my opinion, for PUBG Mobile. And the one thing that struck me about you, we'll get into tips in just a moment here, but I have to ask, how did you, it seemed like so fast, you picked up the game and it seemed like a few weeks later, not only were you really good, but you also had a really good taste for what type of content people were looking for. What type of videos do the best for you, just out of curiosity, and how do you come, you're doing double uploads right now, how do you come up with enough content ideas? It seems like you have no shortage of them.
Oh man, that's a tough question. Honestly, you know me, ideas have always been like my weak spot. If I had to pick it myself for having a weak area, it would be like creativity, right? Like I'm tactily very good as far as like execution and technical things. But the ideas, man, honestly, I've just been playing the game and making sure that I'm recording at all times. And then whatever happens during that game, it inspires me to do a certain theme or a certain whatever. One of the things that's really unique about PUBG is that every single game is unique and different because of the randomization and, RNGesus, baby, of the loot. You never know what you're going to find or not find when you drop in. Sometimes you find 5 crossbows and it's like, oh, we'll do a crossbow challenge today. And it's something I just kind of have on, I don't know, queue, I guess, like a list of topics that I'd like to do. And then based off of what I find, we just, pick one and roll with it.
Awesome, man. Well, keep up the good work on the YouTube side. And, as far as the game goes, you're also a really, really good player, too. So, I want to get into your top tips to make people better players. Real quick before that, question for you as a preamble is the update should be dropping any day, hopefully. They said coming soon. What are your expectations and what are your general thoughts on what we'll be getting?
As far as the update, I'm super pumped for it. What we're going to be seeing is a brand new map. That's going to be the biggest ticket item, I think, and that's going to offer more variety from Erangel, which is the main island that people are used to playing. Erangel is great because it kind of established PUBG as like a hit game. That was where everything started. But I do see some players after playing this for years, I could see how it would get boring playing the same map over and over. So it's really cool to kind of see more stuff added for more variety and more things to do. So that's one thing. And then there's also going to be like a new arcade mode that's coming, like a sniper rifles only that you can choose. And for people like me that like to snipe, that's super fun to be able to kind of pick like snipers only. I want to train at this and, improve your aim. There's a whole lot of other stuff too.
No, it's
I don't
cool
want to
too.
ramble
Like
on
new
too much.
weapons and stuff. I saw your videos on the update. I'll link them below in case you guys are interested. Any of those new weapons kind of stand out to you as being OP?
There
Beast mode?
are definitely not OP. There are a couple that are in the game now that are definitely serviceable, and one is kind of, I don't want to call it gimmicky, but more just like nostalgia, and which I can respect as well. The Winchester 94 got put into the game, and it's a lever action rifle that dates back to like the 1800s, right? So this is like what people were using in the Wild West, shooting from horseback. I think it's cool, but I think you're going to have a hard time with a Winchester 94 going up against an AWM or something that's got like a scope on it. So the one that's most notable to me is the R45 pistol. That thing can headshot somebody with one shot and take them down. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get to the actual game tips here. Obviously, I just kind of told people that you were picked up the game, relatively recently, and all of a sudden you're a beast at the game, right? You're carrying me on the regular on our Facebook streams. So, let me just start by asking you this, PB. Like, what do you attribute your incredible increase of skill, or maybe there was none, maybe I missed something there. But was there a light bulb moment for you maybe where you're like, okay, now I'm comfortable. Now I feel like I'm a good player here, or was it just kind of little things on top of little things?
I think there's a gradual increase of experience as well as skill that you gain as you play anything. It's just like in life, practice makes perfect, or so the saying goes. I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means. Don't roast me in the comments. But basically, I played a lot, and I think content creation had a great deal to do with the fact that I was getting more experience. And I think one of my best tips that I can give that a lot of new players are concerned with, a lot of people get into this game because they were either inspired or influenced by someone else to do so. They see a chicken dinner screenshot on Twitter. They're like, what's this game? Let me download it. I want to get a chicken dinner, right?
Sure.
Well, a lot of people are spending those first few games or first while, weeks, snaking through the grass and hiding in houses and just generally scared to move because PUBG is a game where you can get shot once and die. So, your experience can be over very quickly. Well, I quickly found out that it was super beneficial to not really care about my stats, about my performance, about winning, and just to jump into the action wherever it happens to be. There's a lot of common drop zones in Erangel, which is the main PUBG mobile map. Pachinki is one of them. School is one of them. Military base is one of them. Yasnaya Polyana is one of them. And so all of these places are super high population areas right off of the bat, and they're kind of central in the map. So when you jump in there, you really kind of get into a lot of fights. And at first, you may lose a lot of those fights, but eventually your gun skills start to come around. You start to get a little bit quicker on the reflexes, and pretty soon you're decent and start venturing out into other areas.
Okay, let me ask you this, PB, because obviously there is arcade mode as well, where you can basically hot jump every single match and you're going to get a lot of action. However, you're also going to get a lot of RNG, right? Like if you just have a bad land or whatever, then you're kind of screwed. So what's better? Just landing at a populated area in a classic mode to get better, like a solo queue or something, or just rattling off tons of arcades in a row? What would you recommend to somebody? Obviously, doing both is okay too.
Of course, doing both is okay, and I think both offers different skill sets. I think in classic mode, developing your looting techniques is one of the biggest things you can do to set yourself apart as a player, and loot is just basically free in arcade mode. It's everywhere, and depending on the type of mode that you're playing, for those of you guys that are trying to get into arcade mode and you want to know what type of mode you're playing, check the bottom right corner of the screen. There's a white label there that actually says what mode you're in. It's one of the most common questions that I get, and I didn't want people to be confused on your channel as well. That being said, arcade mode, I think, is great for enhancing your gun skills with all types of weapons, even more so in the next update where you may want to focus on sniper rifles or something like that. But arcade mode is great for honing your gun skills and churning off a lot of games that don't matter in your statistics very quickly. But I think to build the overall package, I think classic mode is still where to go to get better, because looting and doing that efficiently is really everything.
Well, let's just touch on that right now then. Looting efficiently. Tell us about your loot strategy, and namely too, what are you prioritizing when you're looting in the beginning of a game? Let's just say you get your gun, you get your rifle or whatever. What are you looking for? And when will you stop focusing on looting and more on movement and killing?
Sure. When you land into a game, typically I'm going for a higher population area in most of my gameplay, and that's simply because I'm not necessarily going for the win every time. I'm looking for like fun gameplay, right? Like I'm making content around it, so I want it to be exciting. More often than not, sometimes I'll go try hard mode and go out in the weeds somewhere and kind of stay out of sight. But for the most part, I'm getting into those really heavy gunfights early on. So it's really kind of a mad rush to get loot. The number one tip that I have is to not wait around and be picky on a gun. Any gun will do. Pick up the first thing that you run across, whether it's a pistol, whether it's a shotgun, it does not matter. Of course, if you can find an assault rifle, that is ideal because that's the most versatile weapon in the game. It's got great range on it, great power, and you can also, go full auto in short range situations as well. So an assault rifle is like the holy grail for finding early on in the game. But once you find that, you really got to focus on a few things. You want to focus on getting boosts so that you are able to heal up to full health, because a mechanic in PUBG that makes it unique is you can't heal past 75% of your hit points.
Yeah.
So, your first aid kits are really kind of limited there, and a lot of the gun bullets from various weapons do more than 75 damage when they hit you in the head, or basically, long story short, as is pretty obvious from the amount of hit points you have, you die much faster. If you go head to head with 75 hit points against somebody with 100, you're going to die 9 times out of 10, unless you just get some great shot. So I highly recommend finding some boosts. And then, of course, getting armor. You want to find, at a minimum, level 2 chest armor and level 2 helmet. Those are key. As far as the question that you had about, when I stop focusing on looting, I want to make sure that I have like an assault rifle and a sniper rifle combo, or something that you feel comfortable with. Maybe it's 2 assault rifles, maybe it's a marksman rifle, which is kind of like the middle ground between sniper and AR. That would be like an SKS or a mini. I like to have kind of one of each, a decent amount of ammo, decent being like 150 rounds or more. And then make sure I have some energy drinks, painkillers, and then I'm ready to go. Level 2 armor at a minimum.
All right, let's keep walking through this hypothetical match here. So you're all looted up. You have everything that you think you need. Now what are you doing?
At this point, I'm bringing up the mini map. Normally, to kind of fall back a little bit, I am keeping an eye on the zone. When you first drop in, if you drop in a central area in the map, it's not as important to be keenly aware of where that zone is. But if you pick a spot like in the very corner, like Novo Reponoye. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but whatever.
That's your favorite, though, isn't it? Your favorite?
I love Novo. It's such good loot. So many great spots to not only loot up and find stuff, but like if you are attacked, you can either take somebody out, or if you get in trouble, you can hide and get away super easily there. So I really, really like Novo for loot. That is in the southeast corner of the map on the southern island, for those of you guys that are new to the game. But that being said, you got to check the map, the mini-map, by opening it and looking where that white circle is. If you find the safe zone is far from you and you have to run quite a ways, you're going to need to find a vehicle and get there typically in a hurry, because once that blue zone starts to come in, it will do damage over time, and that's not a spot you want to be if you're trying to win the game. So once you've determined like where the zone's going, typically what I do, if I know that I'm good to go on loot, like if I've got my dream loadout, I'm looking for a spot right in the middle of that safe zone, and I'm going to go find a fortress to kind of hole up in. And as the zones continue to shift and change, I'll move from compound to compound, clear it out, and then set up shop basically and wait for people to me. So that's kind of what I'm doing in like an ideal situation.
Okay, that makes sense. And that's, a follow-up question there, and you kind of touched on it at the end of your answer, but let's say you're moving, mid to early to mid-game, you're moving from one kind of populated area to another one. Obviously, you've cleared your area, so let's say you're moving to, I don't know, from the school to Pachinki or something, right? And you move over to the new area. How are you engaging in a new area where everything's unknown? You don't know if there's people there. Like, what's the safe way to do that? Any tactics or tips there?
To quote Dr. Disrespect, violence, speed, momentum. Those are fantastic, not only taglines, but also tips for playing the game. Typically, to fall back on, I think some of your other guests are going to speak to this point, audio is absolutely crucial. When I go to a city, I'm almost always in a vehicle. If I can't find a vehicle, I'm typically not going to be traveling too far in the open fields. So yeah, I'll look for a vehicle, prioritize that early, make sure that I've got something for transport. And then when I drive to a new city, for example, say Pachinki, if I come in from the north, like where you're coming from school, I'm going to drive up to the edge of the city very quickly. I'm going to be scanning all of the windows as I drive up, looking for people. And I'm going to pick a building that I feel like is an ideal position to set up shop in, and I'm just going to basically dedicate myself to that building. I'm going to drive up at 100 kilometers per hour, slide to a stop right up against the wall to minimize any angles I can be shot at, and immediately jump through a window. Normally, I'll kind of walk down the side of the house first, and when you kind of rush a house like that with violent speed and momentum, people are going to shuffle around to come look at you and try to get you in their crosshairs. And when they do that, you can hear their footsteps. You can hear them moving around. and almost always you're going to have an idea that somebody's there. And at that point, that's when you kind of alter what you're doing in order to adapt to the situation and, shuffle your position based off of where you hear the sounds. But other than that, hop in the building, set up shop, and then start scanning the surroundings from the glories of having cover with the house.
Oh, that's great advice. And, one final question on camping a house is, do you prefer roofs, or is roof, scouting, sniping, camping a bad idea? Because you're so vulnerable, at the same time, you have such great kind of view of the area.
That's a 50-50 decision, in my opinion.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes down to how well can you shoot.
Yes.
If you do see somebody on a roof, are you able to capitalize on that situation and actually hit the shot if you choose to engage? If not, roofs may not be your best option, as, where are you going to be looking when you're approaching a city? The first place you're looking is the roof lines.
Yeah.
Are there people sitting there? That's where people stick out the most as well, because you can see their silhouette oftentimes on the horizon. So it does stick out a little bit when somebody's standing on a roof. That being said, great lines of sight and great angles having the high ground. So the roof is really advantageous, but I think it comes down to whether or not you feel comfortable with your own shot. And then another thing that you can do on rooftops as well is kind of lay prone, so people cannot see you unless they're basically above you. Mm-hmm. You could lay down behind a ledge and still use that third person perspective to kind of scan the surroundings. And you may not choose to engage when you see a car driving by or somebody running. If they're too far away, you might just decide, okay, I know where that guy is now, and then, adjust and engage him from inside the house or something.
Yeah, it's a great tip. And about engagement, too. It's something that I kind of encounter decision-making on almost every single match-by-match basis. Is I run into so many situations where I'll have a tactical advantage on my position, and I'll see somebody kind of running between houses, or I'll spot somebody, but they have enough cover around them that if I take a shot, I'm making myself known. What do you do in those situations? Are you more aggressive and just take a couple shots, hope for the headshot, hope for the quick kill? Or are you very careful about firing that first shot and kind of letting people know that you're there?
It's a dual-pronged answer for this one. I know I have a lot of situational stuff.
No, but it's true.
That's the beauty of this game, though, for me, is how situational it is and how well you have to kind of have a visual idea of what your surroundings are. So basically in this situation, if you have cleared the area already and you have a really, or maybe you've been there for a while and you've got a pretty good feeling that you're one of, if not the only person in the area, and you see somebody running like that, I think it's okay to take the shot. If you don't know where people are, or you haven't been somewhere very long and you see somebody running, definitely do not take the shot. Wait till you have something better. If they're going to be running behind a house, oftentimes there's going to be a shot that's better for you about 30 seconds after the fact. Once they go in the house, inevitably loot the bottom floor, run up the stairs, and then peek the upper windows, that's when you want to take your shot. When they stick that head in the window, they're holding still, scanning with their scope, that's when you pop up and pop a head or something. But yeah, that's one of the weakest parts of my game right now, is I am always looking for that clip, right? What can I put on Twitter that's going to get views? So I see somebody with, a sliver of daylight. Dude, I'm flicking the no scope, man.
Sure.
And it's the stupidest thing ever, and I know it when I do it. But yeah, it's still fun to try to hit those.
It's true, though, and I like the kind of situational answers, too. I think it helps a lot of viewers that way, so keep them coming, dude. I actually have two topics that I want to kind of end the video on, and, I would be a really crappy interviewer if I did not ask you this, because you're really known for your sniping and your aiming abilities. More specifically, what I've noticed playing with you is, your scanning ability is incredible, meaning that you just have really a knack for identifying people, even if they're prone in the bushes or something. So can you give us some tips on again, scanning and identifying, and lastly on practicing and getting better at aiming?
Sure, absolutely. So let's start with the positioning and scanning. Part of it is having really good eyesight. I have 20/15 vision in both eyes, so that's obviously helpful. Bad. I can see better than the average human, basically.
Me, on the other hand, I'm
blessed with.
Half the time I feel like my eyes are in my phone when I'm trying to look, 1 inch away. But yeah, okay, go on.
Sure. So. All right, so part of it's just having really good eyesight. That's something that I guess I'm just gifted in that regard. But the other part of it is just, again, situational awareness. Always trying to put yourself in the mind of your enemy and figuring out, where would I be if I were looking at my current position and trying to shoot me where I'm standing right now? Where would I be hiding? And so I look around all the time. Obviously, look at the obstacles that are in the fields, the hay bales, the rocks, the trees. Those are your first things that you want to take a look at, as that is where people are 99% of the time. You know, obviously in houses, you're going to check the windows and that kind of thing.
Real quick, PB, when you're doing that, are you scoping in and out? Are you scoped, or are you just scanning without scope?
That's it. That's a really important question, actually. And I think that 95% of the time you are unscoped, not looking in with your scope, because what scoping in does is, yes, it enhances and magnifies a particular area of focus, but it really tunnel visions you and focuses you in on a very narrow area where what you're looking for is not a person. All you're looking for is some sort of subtle difference, a movement, a black dot. You know, you're not looking for a guy. You're not looking for somebody aiming at you. And once you scan the horizon and you see something that looks out of place, or you see a movement of any kind, that's when you take the scope and you zoom in on that area. Scan it briefly. You don't want to stand there and just stand still and scope in. And once you've kind of scanned it and you don't see anybody, you think, okay, my threat level has come down a little bit. It's not, red alert anymore. And then you continue to scan the horizon. Now, if you have another ping in that same area, that's when the threat level goes back up and you're like, okay, maybe somebody's over there. Zoom back in maybe a little bit more, thoroughly. And at this point, you might start looking for some cover to hide behind yourself in case there is somebody there scoping in on you.
That's great advice. And okay, so you do identify somebody. Let's say two situations. Number one is you spot them first. Number two is you just see someone firing at you and you still haven't quite gotten to where they are. Obviously, you know the direction they're firing from. How do you handle those situations? Obviously, when you identify them first, you're going to shoot them. But, any tips, again, going back to the aim and stuff?
Absolutely. When you do find them first, there's a couple of things that you want to take into consideration. Like, A, are they still? Is this a player that's going to hold still for you and let you shoot them in the head?
Yes.
If that's the case, you take your time, you line up a shot, you headshot them. Pretty simple target. If it's a player that is moving around constantly, if for me, if I'm looting, if I'm, basically stopped still, I'm not ever still. I'm moving around, always in little circles, just kind of making sure that I'm a moving target. I never want somebody, if they approach me from the side and they've got an 8 times or something, I never want them to get that easy headshot from you just standing still. So that being said, if you do identify that they're going to be a difficult target to hit, you want to make sure that you look for cover that is nearby before you engage. You want to make yourself kind of scarce to be seen, because if they do not see you to start off and you get that first shot off, and say you either hit them but don't kill them, or you miss but have the bullet whiz right by their head, they're going to be on red alert now and trying to figure out where you are. So if you have cover and maybe you're just peeking out from behind it, they're not going to be able to locate you very quickly. And even if they do locate you, you now have cover, so you can hide behind that and you don't have to worry about getting shot. So to transition to what to do if you are seen first. A lot of times you'll be running in transport from one location to the next. Inevitably, you can't hide from 100 people forever, right? Somebody's going to see you first. And when that happens, you're going to have fire coming your way. You're often going to get hit and be like, oh, crap, where's that coming from?
Yeah.
Immediately, what you want to do is look for the hit indicators on your screen. They're going to be orange little icons that pop up. And those will, 9 times out of 10, tell you the direction of where that fire is coming from. That being said, if that doesn't completely give away where the shots come from, you also want to immediately scan to the mini-map. And up there will be orange little beacons that pop up where those gunshots come from. And not only will they tell you the direction, but they'll also tell you the distance. So the quicker that you look to that mini-map, the more information you'll be able to get about where that enemy actually is. Oftentimes, it's pretty far away. And you'll have an idea that, okay, this guy isn't directly next to me. Obviously, volume of sound helps as well in that, identification process. But once that's, determined where they're from, think to yourself, do I have cover nearby? If so, get behind it, heal up before you get, back into the fight. You want to make sure that you're at full health as much as possible. If you do not have cover, you want to figure out, how can I get to cover? How can I get away as soon as possible? Maybe it's not a rock, maybe it's not a tree, maybe it's not a building. Maybe it's just an angle difference in the grass. Maybe there's a berm that gives a little bit of low ground that's further away that you run to and go prone there to heal up where the guy doesn't have line of sight on you. That being said, if you're really in a bad situation, return fire in the direction the shots came from. You may not see the enemy themselves, but you know the direction that he's shooting you from based off of all the indicators that I just gave you. So return fire in the direction, and that more often than not is going to force whoever it is, in their eyes, they're sitting there thinking, this guy has no idea where I am. I'm going to kill him.
Sure.
And instead of that, they're going to be like, oh, crap, he sees me.
He sees me, yeah.
So, you can force them back into cover. And then once they're there, at that point, you can regroup a little bit, and it buys you time to get out of dodge without dying.
Great advice, PB. Dude, I feel like we could talk for 2 hours about PUBG Mobile. You have such a wealth of knowledge, and hey, that's why you have a YouTube channel covering the game. But hey, dude, before we let you go, you do have you're giving away like an iPhone or Android. You have a giveaway going on, right? I want to try to get you to 400,000 subscribers. That way I have a chance at the free phone, baby.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Tell
Ash,
us about
I can tell you that you will not win the free phone, my friend. But some of your viewers might, as long as they're subscribed from my channel.
What if you randomly picked me? Would you really redraw? Because it would look biased?
Yes.
You heard it there. That's fraud.
Yes.
All right. Well, I want one of you guys to win, though.
To get to 400K by the end of this month, and yeah, we'll see if it happens or not. But yeah, free phone going out to a random subscriber on the channel. More details about that will be announced over on my channel sometime soon.
All right, it could be you guys. It could be you. Go over and subscribe to Power Bang. PB, dude, thanks so much for coming on the channel, man. It's always a pleasure.
Sure, man. Thanks so much for having me. It's always a pleasure, and let's get some games in sometime soon.
Let's do it, dude. I'll see you tomorrow. I think we're going to be streaming together, so I'm looking forward to it. You guys can catch both of us streaming, by the way, on Facebook. We're both partnered with Facebook Gaming, so I'll include those links for you guys as well. You'll have a lot of links to kind of digest in this video, but hopefully with Power Bang, we can get you on again. Thanks again, dude.
Absolutely, anytime. Take care, guys.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed this. Stay tuned for more PUBG Mobile pro tip videos coming at you really, really soon. Huge shout out to my YouTube partner, Bren Shong. Check out his information in the description below. Guys, thanks so much for watching, and as always, take care, guys.